Hello Tarot Trainees, this is the first of my beginner's course or primer course which I'm going to set out in various different episodes on the channel, and it's basically going to instruct you in the art of tarot from the get-go, so starting with selecting a deck and working with journaling and that kind of thing, and ending with hopefully you finding that the structure of tarot and the suits in tarot are comprehensible and that you understand the structure of the deck and how it works and how to perform a reading and basically be proficient as a beginner going on into the intermediate stage. So I'm really glad, first of all, that there was a big demand for this and that people responded so well to the idea of me throwing a primer course into the mix with the Four Queens channel. And now that I've worked out exactly how it's going to go and how I'm going to teach it, I'm actually really looking forward to it. So thank you for your support, and hopefully you will find this course useful. And the first episode I'm going to begin with is basically just going to help you to select an appropriate deck and to go through some of the myths and superstitions and opinions that are out there with regard to how to treat your deck and how to go about cleansing it and using it and caring for it, etc. So the first thing that I need to get to grips with regard to the primer course is selecting an appropriate deck to follow the course well. There are a great many kinds of decks on the market for things like divination and self-exploration and that kind of thing, and not all of them are strictly tarot per se, and not all of them follow the tarot structure. So there are going to be decks out there that you will own or have looked into getting or are thinking about getting that are not going to be conducive to what I'm going to do with this course. So I need to get that out there now and make sure that everybody who wants to follow the course is doing so with the right kind of deck. So just for some examples, I have here the Heart and Soul Angel cards by Angela McCurr. Angel cards are not going to work well with this primer course simply because they're a different kettle of fish and they follow a different structure. They don't have any major and minor arcana per se, and they're not normally a 78 card deck, and they kind of pertain to a completely different formula to tarot, so they are not tarot decks, they're a different animal. So if you've got Angel cards by Angela McCurr, or Doreen Virtue is a very popular one, anything like that, it's not going to lend itself to this primer course, so it's not a deck of cards that I can recommend for this particular course. This is going to follow a strict tarot structure. Oracle cards as well, I must admit to actually never having properly looked at a deck of oracle cards, but I know that they are again a different animal to tarot, so they're not going to, that kind of deck isn't going to lend itself to this course particularly. Another kind of deck that I have is the Russian Gypsy fortune telling cards. Again, this doesn't have a tarot structure at all. I believe there are 52 or 56 cards in this deck, and they follow a completely different formula. They look completely different. They have kind of 4 images that fit together in a rotation. So again, they are not tarot cards, and you can't use this primer course to learn with a deck such as this. I also have things like Feng Shui cards and stuff like that. Again, the primer course is not going to help with that. So what you're looking for if you want to follow the primer course is a 78 tarot card deck which breaks itself down into the 22 major arcana cards and then the 4 suits of 14 cards. So that's the 10 pips 1 to 10, and then the court cards, which will be your kings, queens, knights and pages. There are some variations on this theme. Obviously, if you, for example, are going to buy a themed tarot card deck with 78 cards, then you may find, for example, that the Magician is called something like Merlin, if it's an Arthurian deck, or the Wizard, or something like that. The Hierophant may be the Pope, if you're buying the Marseille deck, which I don't recommend because it's not very pictorially helpful, but it is a classic deck, it's a really old deck. So yeah, you might get the Pope, and you might have the Popess, or the Witch for the High Priestess. So the names do change. The Hermit may be called the Sage, that kind of thing, so you get what I mean. The names of the major arcana cards may be different, but they will be numbered either 0 to 21 or 1 to 22, and they will have a theme that runs throughout. So don't worry too much if you want to buy a deck where the Magician is called the Magi or, you know, Merlin or the Wizard, it's fine. It all pertains to the same kind of thing and the same kind of idea. It's just that it's sort of dressed up in a different cultural or associative guise, or there's some kind of mythology attached to it. So you might have, say for example, if you want to buy a deck that lends itself to Egyptian mythology, then you might find that Isis is representative of the High Priestess, but that's absolutely fine. That's not going to convolute your understanding of the course. Obviously, you just have to take a look at, you know, if Isis is card number 3 and ordinarily would be the High Priestess in a standard deck like the Rider-Waite, then you just have to understand that when I'm talking about the High Priestess for your Egyptian deck, I would be talking about Isis. So there are some variations with the names, but as long as you have a 78 card deck which adheres to the tarot structure with the 22 major arcana cards and the 4 suits, then you are barking up the right tree. With regard to the minor arcanas, obviously there are 4 suits there, so you've got your swords, cups, wands and your pentacles. There may be some variation on names with regard to the deck that you get. So wands can also be known as clubs, that's a popular one, or staffs or rods. Anything like that basically pertains to exactly the same thing, so that's fine, you are on the right track. Cups may be called chalices, they may be called cauldrons, that kind of thing. Again, you know, this is a suit that represents the suit of cups, it's all the same thing, it's just known as a slightly different name, so that's fine. Swords may be known as knives or daggers or blades of any kind, that kind of thing. Just trying to think of some other stuff. Spades. I've seen a couple of decks where swords are actually represented as spades. That's fine. Again, they're just different variations on exactly the same theme. And lastly, pentacles may be called nuggets or coins, or you know, they may be represented as gold pieces, that kind of thing. But again, you're looking at the suit of pentacles, but with a slightly different face on, or slightly different guise on. So that's fine. You can go ahead and use a deck of that nature. With regard to how you wrap and store your tarot deck once you've actually got it and it's in your possession, that's completely down to your personal choice. Many people will say that it's very important to store your deck correctly, to get an ornate box for it, or to wrap it in silk, which is known to have some protective qualities and to keep good energy in and kind of push bad energy out. Some people will say that you need to get a bag for them, something that will help you to store them away, to keep the energy that you place into them good and whole and not messed with by other energies that may be around. This is obviously down to personal choice and it's completely up to you how you feel. You can get one of these, like a cloth, which is used not only to wrap the cards up and keep them stored away nice and safely, but also to help you when you're doing readings. You can lay the cloth down underneath the cards and it kind of gives a certain atmosphere to the reading. And also obviously if you're doing the reading in a pub or in a cafe, it can also kind of help when you wipe the table down and then you lay the cloth down. It's just that extra protection for your deck as well, so you don't get any horrible sticky stuff on it. But that is absolutely your choice and that's up to you. I keep my tarot cards in a bag like this. It just helps me to keep them all together. And, you know, there is sort of this opinion that's quite widely held in the tarot community that if you do treat your deck with a certain amount of honour and respect and reverence, then you will work better with it and you will get a better energy from it. And that whether or not you actually believe that the cards can carry your energy, that's kind of by the by. If you treat the deck in a way that shows reverence and respect, then your mentality with regard to the cards will be such that they will work in your favour and you will have a better relationship with them as a result of that. But the way that you store them and the way that you wrap them is completely your choice. The only reason that you might not want to keep them in the box that they came in is because it will very soon become dog-eared, particularly if you're following this course where you're going to be getting them out and doing exercises with them and shuffling them and exploring them and looking at them. Very soon that cardboard box that they tend to come in is going to become quite dog-eared. So that's the main reason I feel that you may want some kind of a storage idea that you might want to put into practice once you actually own your deck, if you don't already. Another thing that I would say is that if you want to follow this course or any kind of primer course to do with tarot, then it would probably be very helpful for you to have a journal of some kind to kind of record your progress with the deck and to record your ideas and the concepts that you come across and how you feel about them and so on. Some people choose to buy quite a nice decorative book, which is a journal usually more for emotional thoughts as they come up and ideas as they come up. So there's not really any structure with a book like that. It is very much a day-by-day journal where you may choose to record your daily draws, or you may choose just to outline the exercises that I'm going to give you during the course. But the other idea that a lot of people tend to go with is to get a ring binder so that you can actually add to each section of the book. So say, for example, that you want separate areas of a recording, a method of record that will show you everything that you've learned about the suit of swords and everything you've learned about the suit of wands. Obviously, as you go along, your knowledge will be built upon and you will need to put new things in and add new notes in. For this kind of purpose, it's great to have a ring binder rather than a sort of ornate decorative journal where you can't really do a lot to alter the format once you've written it down in there. A ring binder is great because it will just allow you to add pages as you go along, and you can get those plastic wallets so everything sort of stays in its place and stays clean, so that as you go along and you acquire more information, you can just fatten the ring binder up with everything that you've learned. So some people choose to do it one way, some people choose to have both. At the moment, I actually don't have a tarot journal at all, but I have in the past had a few sort of ornate journals, and I'm kind of more of a daily journal type of girl. I'm not so big on the, the mammoth book of shadows, everything in order, categorised and organised. I'm much more kind of flighty and moment to moment, so I think it depends on your personality as well. But if you're just learning tarot from scratch and you're going to be learning it with me, then you might favour the idea of getting both, a ring binder kind of thing for structured study, and then the ornate sort of more personal journal, depending obviously upon your pocket, what you want to buy and work with, might be quite nice for your personal feelings and thoughts about your journey with tarot. So that's like an exciting thing to think about as well. With regard to people touching your deck, which is a big deal with people that own tarot cards, a lot of people say that, they can't have people touching their decks and that it kind of messes with the energy or it takes the energy away from what they've done. A lot of readers subscribe to the idea that they put a massive amount of energy into their cards and that the bond with their cards is such that they can't really allow other people to be touching them and messing with them. This may be true for you or it may not be. When I do tarot readings for querents face to face, I do not actually ask them to shuffle the deck or cut the deck or anything else. I shuffle the deck and I tend to cut it into 3, and then I request that the querent actually just lets me know which of the 3 piles they're drawn to the most, and then we select that deck and work with it. So actually throughout a reading face to face, a querent of mine never actually touches my deck. But this has really got nothing to do with the energy that I feel I've put into the deck per se. It's just that, shuffling a tarot deck can be a bit fiddly. You have to get used to it because they're a completely different size to ordinary playing cards, and most querents that I have will not be used to shuffling a deck that's a bit more cumbersome and a bit bigger. So it might be uncomfortable for them to try and shuffle them. I know for me, it took me a very long time to get comfortable with shuffling tarot cards because they're bigger and they're a bit more, and I've got tiny little hands anyway, they're just a bit more fiddly. So I tend to just do that bit for them. And I don't necessarily believe that it affects the reading for the querent to actually touch the cards. I just think that as long as they're allowed the influence of their intuition to select a part of the deck that I've cut for them, then they've put their influence into it, and that it'll be fine. The reading will go as expected. So it's really up to you what you feel. Some people will get a very strong sense that if somebody touches their deck that it needs to be cleansed, or you need to do some kind of a little ritual to free the deck of the energy that that other person has imposed upon it through touching it physically. And that is absolutely fine. That is a belief that's held by many tarot readers, and it might be something that you strongly feel. So if you do get your deck and you begin to feel that your bond with it is of some kind of tangible or physical nature, and you don't want other people messing with the cards, then do make sure that you put them away in a safe place. Don't leave them lying around for a friend to innocently pick up and be like, oh, what's this you're working with? Because that will just stress you out, and you'll feel kind of a bit insecure about leaving them around and stuff. So, if it is something that you feel you want to keep to, that idea that only you should be touching your deck, then do make sure that you put it away. And if somebody does touch it or mess with it and you do feel that the energy is in some way altered, then of course do a cleansing, whatever you want to do. Some people find it's as easy as just knocking on the deck a couple of times or whispering on it or kind of waving their hand over it. And other people may feel that they need to kind of like leave it on the windowsill in the light of a full moon. Totally depends what your feeling is. And if you don't feel anything like that and you're completely free to let your friends look at the deck or let your children play with it, then again, there is nothing wrong with that. There is no right or wrong answer. Everybody relates to their tarot deck in a different way. The next thing I would say is that before we begin the course, it would probably be quite a good idea for you to write down what kind of goals and expectations you have for your tarot journey. And of course, as I've mentioned a few times in my tea and tarot episodes on this channel, goals and expectations do change, and that's completely natural. That is a natural thing, and that's a good thing. Goals should change, you know, because we do change throughout our lives. We enter into different stages of the journey with whatever we're doing, and change is a healthy thing, and it should just be observed and respected and allowed to occur. But for the moment, while you're starting off with the primer course, it might be good just to have some preliminary goals or an idea of what it is that you want out of your tarot journey. And for some of you, it may just be that you want to have a greater understanding of the structure of tarot and how it actually works and how a reading works and how it's possible for somebody to learn the meanings of these 78 cards and kind of formulate them in a way that makes sense every time, even though obviously very different cards will be drawn each time. So it may just be that tarot is a little bit of a mystery to you and you would like to get to the bottom of how it works as a tool. Others of you may want to bond more closely with a deck that you're already reasonably familiar with. So the first few episodes of the primer course, Trainee Tarot, might be a little bit superfluous for you. You may not need them, but you may be interested in the later episodes where I talk about intuitively bonding with the deck and interpreting the symbolism of the cards. Maybe you have a deck, but you feel that your skill with it has become a little bit stagnant, or you're surrounded by tarot books but you don't know where to start. Maybe you just want it to be simplified for you, or you're not that great at reading and you need somebody to actually talk you through it. So maybe it could just be about progressing on a journey that you've already started. And some of you may feel that you may want to embark on meditations or visualizations with the deck. Maybe you read tarot for other people, but you want to begin to use it to utilize your own sense of self-exploration. And finally, some of you may even be wanting to go pro, and this may be the very first step on that long and tangled journey towards becoming a tarot reader for money. So, you know, whatever your goals are, I think it's always exciting to have some at the beginning of a journey. I think it paves the way for greater commitment in any kind of course that we're beginning on. If we have an idea of where we want it to go and how we want it to end up for us, then it can kind of surge us full of positive energy and make us feel like it's definitely a course that we wish to embark upon. And I will just talk a little bit about what this tarot course will give you. I'm going to give you a breakdown of the history and the concepts of tarot. So I'm going to attempt to make the history of tarot a little bit less confusing and convoluted, because its origins are very tangled up and it can get quite complex. So I'm just going to explain a few of the major players in tarot's history, break down the themes, break down and explain the different reasons why people feel that tarot may be connected to ancient Egypt or to Hinduism or to gypsies, all these different things that you may have heard while you've been exploring tarot, or, you know, just eavesdropping on other people's conversations and hearing, oh, tarot's a gypsy thing, you know. So I'm going to try and explain why those concepts exist, and then I'm going to go on to breaking down the structure of tarot, so beginning with the majors and then going through the 4 suits of the minors. I'm going to explain the relationship that tarot has with the elements and the relationship that tarot has with symbology and how to break down the symbology. We're going to talk a little bit about the reversals with tarot, how the idea of reversing tarot cards came into being, and how we actually use reversals to enhance our readings, and you know, whether or not you actually do need to use reversals, because a lot of people don't use them, and I'm going to explain how that works as well. I'm just having a little look at the notes that I've made. I'm going to explain the 3 ways of reading a tarot card and the 3 ways of kind of coming to understand it on different levels, kind of thing. We're going to discuss the court cards and the you know, the ever enigmatic role that they play in the tarot deck, and the different ideas that people have had about the court cards throughout tarot history. And then we're going to discuss popular spreads, how to use them, and finally how to design your own spreads and how to read for yourself and for other people. So it's going to be quite a comprehensive, all-encompassing course, and hopefully by the end of it you will have reached your goal, whatever your goal is, and we can move forward together into kind of more complex subjects and talking about different ways we can inject tarot energy and tarot wisdom into different areas of our lives. So it's going to be quite a comprehensive course, and I really hope that you all enjoy it, and I hope that you get as much enjoyment out of watching it as I certainly know that I will from doing it, because as I said, it was never in the plan, but now that it is in the plan, I'm feeling quite pumped for it and quite ready for it. So thank you for watching this introduction, and if you haven't got on your deck yet, then you know, try working on deciding what you want to get. In the last video I talked about the great index that Eclectic Tarot have compiled online, which gives you an amazing idea of the sheer vast quantity of different decks that are out there that all conform to the 78 card structure, but they have different themes, they kind of pertain to different mythologies, or they have different styles. You can get manga decks, you can get vampire decks, whatever it is you're into, you will find a deck for it. So you know, the myth that the Rider-Waite is the only deck for beginners must remain a myth, and always a myth. If you feel no bond to the Rider-Waite deck, by the way, the Rider-Waite deck is the one that I use in my tea and tarot videos, if you feel no bond to it, then go on to Eclectic Tarot, try and find one that you feel you can work well with, one that kind of defines you as a person, one that you feel that you'll be comfortable with. You know, choose one that you connect with the imagery of it, or you understand the mythology it's tapping into. Get that deck, and we'll go on our merry way with the Trainee Tarot course. Thanks for listening, guys. Bye.